Trustee Jenkins,
Present.
Trustee Brooks,
Present.
Mayor Rudez.
Present.
All right.
All right, I've got the flag here tonight, so let's do our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag, of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands,
One nation,
under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You know what? I'm going to read this disclaimer, and pretty soon we'll be out of that. I just look so much forward to going back into regular sessions, but I'm never the first one to jump into the water, so I'm going to be a little more cautious. We're going to be good. Pursuant to Governor Pritzker's Executive Order 2020-07, COVID-19 Executive Order Number 5, as amended, which suspends the requirement of the Illinois Open Meetings Act requiring in-person attendance by members of a public body during the duration of the gubernatorial disaster proclamation. The members of the village board will not be physically present for the designated board meeting, but will instead be participating in the meeting through audio access using a virtual meeting platform. Public comment may be submitted in advance of the meeting to Village Clerk D. Jones at university-parkil.com or by text message to 708-473-6201. All comments must be received by 5 p.m. the day before the meeting. In order to give proper consideration to all items on this agenda, the mayor will limit participants in a debate and will close off protracted, repetitive, irrelevant, or abusive remarks. Public comments will be limited to a total of 30 minutes. General public comments, Mrs. Kelly.
Yes. Our first public comment is from Miss Walker. It says, my questions are for the village manager, Fulgham. May I please have a response back, Miss E? Question number 1, what credit card companies are the village utilizing and or have utilized within the last past year? Question number 2, how many board members have village credit cards? Question number 3, have any credit card purchases been listed in bills payable? Question number 4, what is the status of investigation on Police Chief Debbie Wilson? Question number 5, is CHW management going to open for the season? Village manager, can you please make sure CHW check/payment are placed on bills payable at the end of this month? Thank you, Ms. Walker. The next public comment. Shall I go on?
Yeah, yes, ma'am.
Okay. The next public comment is from a Jory Turner. Question number 1, repaving the walking sidewalk to start in front of Coretta Scott King and goes to the bridge on Hickok is badly damaged over the years of neglect. Last time it was paved was in the 1980s. Repaving the street on Sierra is badly damaged. 3, plowing side streets in and leaving it for days. There are elderly who live on this block. Okay, that's from Ms. Turner. Okay, the next public comment is from a Mr. Gregory Box. Good evening. I'm writing this comment about our village manager. It's my opinion that she should resign for the following reasons. 1, stolen money from general fund without board approval. 2, accused of sexual harassment against a village employee. 3, failure to oversee the golf course and equipment. 4, fired director of public works without cause. 5, failure to maintain failure to maintain competency as a village manager. 6, place chief of police on administrative leave without cause. That was from Gregory Box. The next one is from Ms. Mildred Morgan. It says, a question for the village lawyer. Is it usual for a village to request a drug test and a psychological exam for a mayor? If not, what's the procedure? To the lawyer, what advice is given when $106 is spent for food and entertainment and $13,000 spent for security at the golf course from October through December? To the lawyer, the village manager has stolen $54,000, giving herself $3,500, along with many other bad decisions. She needs to be terminated today. Do you agree? That's from Ms. Morgan. Okay. Our next public comment is from Ms. Star Lawson. It says, Dear Mayor, Board of Trustees, and Clerk, I write to you to bring attention to some concerns that have been brewing since the inception of the coronavirus as it relates to the Freedom of Information Act and Open Meetings Act and the residents of UP. Firstly, I believe, as the Attorney General believes, that an open, honest, and accountable government can be achieved only through the free and open exchange of information between government and the public. In Illinois, our most important transparency law, the Freedom of Information and the Open Meetings Act, endeavor to open the workings of government to the public sheds light on government actions and, in process, strengthens our democracy. The time is always right to do right. It is time for the mayor and board to make decisions that allows the residents of University Park to openly participate in their government. Secondly, it is the public's policy of this state that public bodies exist to aid in the conducting of the people's business, and that the people have a right to be informed as to the conduct of their business. Third and lastly, pursuant to the fundamental physiological of the American, I probably butchered it, I'm sorry, American Constitution form of government, it is declared to be the public policy of the state of Illinois, and all persons are entitled to full and complete information regarding the affairs of government and the official acts and policy to those who represent them as public officials and public employees consistent with the terms of this act. Such access is necessary to enable the people to fulfill their duties of discussing public issues fully and freely, making informed political judgment, and monitoring government to ensure that it is being conducted in the public's interest. Unfortunately, the master clerk seems to only be mastering, not completing the requested FOIAs. This is an unfair practice of one who holds such a title as master. It is my hopes that better consideration will be afforded to the residents. This was written and submitted by Ms. Star Lawson. Our next public comment is from Ms. Vivian Covington. I would like to submit this question for tomorrow's board meeting. What is the status of the request made by the trustees to remove village manager? Why was our public works director removed? I know it is a personnel issue. However, the residents appreciated him. When will our police chief be restored? That's what's submitted by Ms. Vivian Covington. Okay. Our next public comment is from Ms. Gina Williams. Says, good evening, all. I see we are still on the outside looking in, but that's okay. Sooner or later, you all will have to face the heat from the public. It's sad the mayor refused to allow us in the Zoom meetings, if for nothing more than our public comments. However, no worries. Well, remember this at election time. Nevertheless, I am writing in regards to the fate of the village manager, Miss E. I, along with countless others, want her gone ASAP, vamoose. We understand her contract has expired and don't care for it to be renewed. Here are some reasons for her dismissal: misusing of funds for her own personal gain, use and gain, corruption within the administrator, lie after lie, no transparency, no accountability, placing our chief of police on administrative leave for almost 3 months for no apparent reason, trying to manufacture something even as we speak. This lady is pure evil. Terminated our director of public works while he was out on medical. We all know the mayor was behind this and did it for personal reasons. She sexually assaulted a female employee who had to be moved to a different location. This resulted in a lawsuit for which our attorneys were used on her behalf. She shows favoritism and disrespect certain board members. I employ the board to rid us of Ms. E once and for all. We are watching. Was submitted by Ms. Williams. That completes the public comments.
From anyone? If not, we'll move forward. Item 5.1a, discussion of resolution approving and authorizing execution of the agreement. Wait a minute. This isn't an action meeting, so this is a discussion item. A resolution
Right.
approving, authorizing the execution of an agreement by and between the Village of University Park and Park Mobile. The floor is open for conversations and questions regarding the mobile app for Park Mobile.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Man,
Yeah.
I'll go after you.
Okay. No,
Yeah,
I was gonna say, no, man, I was reading the same way. I think maybe for this is that when it was typed, it was more print of us what it would be if we had that, if it was to become an action item. So I just think that was a typographical error. So I'll yield from there and then continue after my colleague.
Ms. Lewis?
Okay, so did we finalize is this the contract that we have for Park Mobile that was submitted by Ms. Childress?
We had it, I talked with them, did the follow-up, and they put her name as coming to her, but we're changing that. It will be sent to my attention. I've been talking to her. She did the follow-up as a result of going out on site and getting the information and all, and as a result, we were able to come back with this document.
Okay. I yield my time.
Question there. Why did she go on? I mean, what, Miss E?
Yeah.
Why did she go on site? Was it?
Why did she what?
Why would you say she went out on site? She did the negotiating for this?
No, she just went out on site. She took pictures of the mobile sign, the information and everything for me to talk to the folk. And we were able to get this and send it to the attorney. So
Okay.
she negotiate, she didn't have anything to do with that.
Okay. And I guess that's why you relate that she will be removed, because it does have that she's a contact in the email.
That will be taken off there. But it was originally put on there, and I was concerned about the contents, but before we actually bring it back for approval, you will see my name on it.
Okay. The next question I would have on this, just for transparency for the public, this is for the metro station, correct?
Yes, both of them, the east and the west.
Okay. When I was going through this, I don't know, I think, let me see if the trustees, I'm just only asking a question. I thought I seen, maybe this is just, and I think maybe it goes down to removal and some corrections. When we go to service of the terms, it does say the governing law state of Georgia. So I don't know if this was just something that was printed out, they didn't know, but I just want to make sure we okay with that.
Yeah, I mean, and there's debate on that. And I'm sorry, Trustee Brooks, this is Joe Miller. I noticed that as well. I have to talk to Michael on that. I know a lot of times on these kind of mobile services, we, because of the, I mean, it still would actually be and probably if there was a matter, it would be in federal court in Illinois. But what's the type of law? I got to confirm that with on him because I saw that as well. And I wasn't sure in regards to if that was just because I think this is just their general broad template.
Yes.
And not
Yes,
per se, it doesn't have like his revisions yet. So I saw that as well, and I'm going to question him about that as well because I took this as actually just their template contract for you just to understand what their services are, and I'll check with him in regards to the law that would be applied if there's a dispute.
Oh, okay, yeah, because
I think that's their headquarters in Georgia.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, I understand that, and it's just a matter of requesting that they change it to Illinois, and then seeing if that can be done or not.
Yeah,
it was in the,
I was gonna say, just for the record, I did speak to someone who was a part of the transportation committee for Metro or the region or whatever you want to call it. And mass transit, correct. And Park Mobile is part of it. So from my understanding that we probably just need to do a little corrections like the village manager said. And I think, and actually Mr. Miller too, just do a little this or that. And I think we should be fine because to my understanding, Park Mobile was indeed part of the services that were being used among those lines with Metro.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, so because I saw that as well. So I'll talk to Michael about that.
Mayor, may I be recognized? Village Manager E, would you explain to the taxpayers what Park Mobile is so they'll know exactly what we're talking about for those that may not have an agenda or had an opportunity to look at agenda and see what Park Mobile is and what it does at Metro. So would you please explain that to them so they'll know where we're at?
There are two forms of payment for ridership on the Metro for both parking lots. There is the traditional payment that the patrons take, look above their heads and get the parking spot numbers, take the dollars and put them in the appropriate holes on the boxes. There are a more sophisticated group now, computer oriented. So what they do, a lot of them do, there are three ways you can deal with Park Mobile. You can call them, you can go online, or you can download the app. What they require you to do is you can, in your method of payment, what credit card, debit card, method of payment, and you enter in the spot you're in and you pay accordingly. So what this does, it gives the ridership an option of paying for their rides on Metro. Post the signs, they sent us the signs. We post the signs. Right now, we've taken all the old signs down because they were under the old contract with the old owners. We will be putting our new signs up there. We'll also be putting our new signs up there for parking, and we'll also be putting our new signs up there for parking overnight. So what this, to go back to what you were saying, trustee, this allows them an option of paying for ridership. And that information is going to be actually on the sign, the green sign that will be posted out there.
You mean parking ship? Because it's a 24-hour, you can pay for 24 hours, or you can pay for hour by hour, how long you assume you're gonna be gone. And it's an app, put in the time on your mobile phone or online, and then you get a receipt in return when your time's expired or what you paid for. 24 hours is for the time that you start to park to the next day of the time it ends. Or you go hour by hour, as say you going downtown for 7 hours, you put in 7 hours, and it would calculate how much that is, and you pay that amount.
Yeah, trustee, that can be gotten when the information on the sign. I was just doing the general overall to let them know the two options of paying for the parking as they ride the Metro train. But thank you so very much. That's
You're welcome.
That do it for you, trustee Jenkins?
Oh, no, that was for the public.
No, I
So
mean, it's
that's
okay.
exactly.
That's good for you? Good.
That was,
Any other questions regarding Park Mobile?
Yes, Mayor. And actually, Trustee Lewis kind of brought it up. I know we spoke about it before. Ms. E, what is the status of the parking enforcement with the Metro lot? And actually, where are we right now, especially when it comes to the parking? So if you can ask two questions, well, you probably can knock it out with one stone. But what is the status right now with the parking enforcement, and what would be the future once we get this app up and going?
well, we're using a seasonal officer that we pay or has been paying part-time to monitor that traffic situation. But we got a situation that I'm going to bring before the board, and I'm trying to do this in phases because right now we do not have the money to pay for it all, but we're going to have cameras put up for that. We need cameras on the entire parking lot to compensate for some of the things that have been happening. For example, there was a car someone attempted to break into, so they busted the window. Luckily, it was nothing in that car. But we want to put out cameras so that we'll be able to monitor the activities at the facility. But we want the fund, that particular escrow account, to pay for that to have done. As of right now, we've used the assistance of the police department, a staff, and myself. We've gone out. We have, they've in fact, collections have been done. Police and, finance department has been counting, collecting the dollars, putting the date of collections. And so a special account will be set up for that particular, for the parking lot. So we will be able for it to become a counter-cyclical program so that the monies that are earned as a result of the parking can be used to pay for employees, for monitoring, for collections, the whole 9 yards. But we're doing it in phases right now because it's lean. We're trying to deal with payroll, to make payroll. So the dollars are slightly lean with this. So that's to answer your question, trustee. We're looking at, cameras.
When you say, I know, okay, well, cameras would be the solution. I know you mentioned that, and I guess you must have did an analysis on the security. How much would it cost monthly for security to be patrolling those lots?
All of that is going to be brought to you. I've been meeting on that. So all of that's going to be brought to the board. before we get the approval to do any of that. Everything will be brought to the board.
That is our next discussion item on the agenda as well.
The cameras.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, no, I mean the analysis on a human body, an officer to do the security.
Okay.
I know we spoke about that initially, and the reason why I say that is that through my experience, and I don't know what's the latest, and it would have been great to have a police input on this, because it seemed like Cadillac, if everyone can remember, at one point with Cadillac converters were always stolen from underneath people's cars, and it seems like the metro station is like the prime place for that to happen. I don't know how, and I heard you say it, Miss E, and I think we all know also a common thing, depending on someone's drug habit, they always seem to take a shopping trip to the metro station to do a quick theft. So I guess my biggest concern is that if we do have a body, how long the body would be in the lot until we get the cameras going. Because most people, I think like Trustee Curtis McMullen, when he was here, I think Trustee McMullen would be in that lot from 4 a.m. to almost like 6 or 7 at night. So the average person would, leave their car parked there about 13, 14 hours. So I guess the big thing is about security. How would we handle that? Because at some point I would think, and this is just me brainstorming, because at this point, I guess the next question would be, even then, how many tickets have we issued so far when it comes to this parking lot? I mean, because really, in a way, we're,
right now, I don't think, Theo,
ma'am.
This Shirley speaking, I believe there aren't any tickets being given right now because of the situation we're in with this park mobile.
Okay.
Trustee,
I don't think so. Let me back up. I don't think so. Ms. E can clarify that.
Mm-hmm.
we're going to present a budget to you. I've had discussions with the police department of utilizing a particular police officer that has been very familiar about the operations of situations of the parking lot. I've been involved with the development of a parking lot budget in other towns. So we're going to try to, I'm laying out the budget for operations of the parking lot to include camera, to include surveillance, to include selections, to include security, all of the above. Hopefully, with the ridership, the increase of ridership and some additional things we're looking to do, it would increase the amounts of dollars that the village receives, because we do want it to be a counter-cyclical program where all the funds that are gotten will go back into the fund and begin to pay rather than for it to come out of general dollars. And it can't happen that way. In fact, that's how most of them operate.
Okay, I just want to make a point. Someone may want to mute. I'm hearing a lot of, like, someone's cooking or something. A lot of pots and pans or something in the background. Okay, I just want to kind of note here, it's been about 60 days since we taken over, Miss E. So I think we probably need to step up our pep here with the Metro lot. Because that's 60 days of revenue, and pretty much, and you said an officer, I really, to be honest, that's just my opinion. I think we need to step up here. But as far as the app itself, we got to get to going. We really do. We got to get to going. So
that was my comment as well. This, like you said, it's been on for a long time, and we just can't keep putting it off and putting it off.
We're not putting it off. Let me
I don't mean putting it off, but it's being delayed.
Okay. No, Trustee, let me just tell you something. Our level of collection has, and the ridership has increased over the last 2 months as they've been in the prior month. I don't know if it's the weather or the COVID that was instrumental in having to do with the ridership, but the cars, the parkings out there have been very good. This turnover was a very good turnover. So it's increasing what we're doing. Folk are calling in and they're going to manually, and they know the park mobile is forthcoming. So it's not like we're stagnant with it. We are moving, trying to get these people to work with your schedule. It took the South Suburban Transit Authority a little while. We've had it for 2 months. We had to get the closures of ownership papers in order. We couldn't do anything until that was done. That didn't become effective. The process couldn't start till after January the 1. This is March, but since then we've made 2 collections. We've removed signs. We're getting staff inundated on schedule. So it may not be moving fast enough as you see it, but we're putting the strategies and programs in place to move it forward. Just bear with us a little bit. We're gonna get it. We're moving it forward with it.
Yeah, I just want to use a little analogy here, and the Super Bowl champ, Trustee Franklin, knows what I mean when I say this, is that, look, we knew back in November that this would be turned over. And, you know, when we're in the middle of, when you're in a football, if you go to a football game, one thing I know as a coach, all week we prep, film, you name it, who's playing, equipment, who's going to carry the equipment, what bus. You know, I just really, in this whole circumstance, I just want us to understand this, and it's nothing really that we can do at this point, but we have to be prepared for the game. And then once we're in a game, you know, we can win. You know, having personnel out there collecting the money, having tickets written. When it came to the snow being plowed, snow being plowed, people not sending me messages that, you know, there's ice out there. You know, we have to be prepared. And, you know, I just would like us from this point forward, if something like this ever come major where University Park is taken over, we have the resources to get these things done. We have the personnel and the minds to get it done. We've been doing it. We've been surviving. And that's the only way you can win a football game or win a trophy, is you well prepare yourself to, you know, for these situations. But I'm glad that we at least we're on the right track. Mr. Miller is going to take a look at the necessary things here that we're looking here on this paperwork, and you know, make some name changes here, and we'll be moving forward. With that, Mr. Mayor, you know, in my opinion, I don't have any more questions, but I would move forward on this one. That's my position. So we can get University Park metro stations operating.
Let me say, Trustee, let me just say something else too. We've been meeting with Metra. They've agreed to do certain things, and we've agreed to do certain things, and we got funded in terms of a grant. But I want you to understand, some of the complaints from the ridership is the flooding level and some other things. So it's great getting the parking lot together as we're trying to do, but it's difficult for folk to ride when they know coming to areas when there are a lot of rehab that needs to work. So I'm working with that in conjunction with this, but we're moving forward with, I'm not dormant with it, believe me. And I'm physically involved with it. Physically, believe me when I tell you, I'm physically involved with trying to get this up and moving as well.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah. Yeah.
Jenkins Bear, did you have something else?
No.
All right.
And Trustee Brooks, I have just another comment. Trustee Brooks, I have been sitting in on these Metro meetings as well, just so you're FYI. I've been sitting in on them.
Mhm.
You know I trust my gorgeous Trustee Shirley Bowden.
Yes, sir.
And you know what? I guess as we close out on the metro station, I would also ask the board to consider doing an RFP for maintenance, for lawn cutting and maintenance of the metro stations.
Yeah.
Right. You want for another group, or would you just extend who we have?
No, they're really stretched thin. but I think we'll get the best bang for our buck because when the dollars start coming in, because ridership will increase with the opening of the new businesses in town, that it can basically pay for itself.
Yeah, because
thought.
if we're still using the same company, yeah, I know he's doing about 9 properties. So a metro station would definitely stretch him very thin.
Yeah. All right. Just food for thought, guys. All right.
We're
gonna move this forward.
Could I say one final thing on that? Could I say one final thing? The intent, once this budget period starts, is to have an independent entity to do the maintenance work on the park and the employees of the village. And I just want to put it out there. That was part of the strategy.
All right, thank you. So is it the consensus of the board to move this to the action item agenda for the last business meeting of the month?
Yes, sir.
All right, we're going to move this forward and also anticipate a long executive session for that last meeting as well, just for food for thought. Item number 2 is 5.1 discussion of village-wide cameras. And I'd just like to get the public opinion of the board members. Do you think that it is a necessary thing, not just in the metro station, but the parks, the schools, Central Avenue, University Parkway? That's a truck stop area, Steger Road and Cicero. We already have the license plate reader in place, but as the world gets chaotic from the north, south, east, and west, I think it's in our best interest to protect our residents with some kind of camera system. So the floor is open, and just want to get the opinion of the council members.
Anybody?
Oh,
I
think it's
a good idea.
good idea.
Yeah.
I think it's a good idea.
I think it's a good idea as well. I know from what I've heard, we've had some success with the license plate readers thus far. So I think if we continue to increase the camera systems throughout the village, that'll be extremely helpful. And it'll help. It's helpful with law enforcement as well. And then as we've been having this conversation around the metro station, I think that's ideal to have a camera system up there because Trustee Brooks is correct. The catalytic converters and just the opportunities for cars to be broken in parking lots, whether it's one way in, one way out, a criminal could see, pretty good if the police is coming. So I think camera systems is something that's very necessary. We have to keep up with the times. That's the times that we're in. So we definitely should, this is something we should consider, in my opinion.
And these systems could be extremely expensive. So it would be a suggestion to just take an RFP, which won't cost us anything. And maybe we just prioritize the certain areas and we'll slowly but surely phase them in. But it's a great concern. It helps the residents as far as public safety. It protects our youth and our senior citizens. So that's something.
also, remember,
I was gonna say, didn't we have some though? I'm a little lost. Didn't we have some like at Craig Park or something? Or
at one time we did. Those cameras are still there, but they're really dormant now. And I think technology has really increased. So yeah, we did at one time, Brooks. You're right.
So they're not live anymore, right?
No.
Okay. Is the COPS program from the Justice Department still giving out grants? I do remember in 2000, actually it was 2002. I remember they were passing out so much money. The joke is that camera right there at 175th and Pulaski, that camera was either Officer Brooks or the camera, because they handed out each year. And I think the Country Club Hills got the money for that camera. And then that was the following year. Oh no, I came in 05, so it was 03. And to my understanding, I guess the Justice Department, especially if it's a high crime area, are still, I believe, I think that's something we may want to check with PD about. They are handing out grants, but I think the only thing with those are the ones like you see in Chicago with the lights on it.
Lights, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the only downfall with that camera. But I believe that
It's notification, but it also warns them like, no, we ain't gonna go over there because they got cameras.
Right.
Correct. So I do believe if we can also check into that. But my next question would be, who would monitor, or how would we monitor? Because at one point, I think every department and every municipality had their own dispatching center. How would we handle it here in University Park?
With Trustee Brooks, that leads into our next item on the agenda, going as far as item 5.1c, and that could be tie into the cameras with our discussion with the ordinance amending our emergency management response as well.
Okay.
And Trustee Brooks, I'll say, and with today's technology, there can be 24-hour recording with the cameras, and it goes into a cloud. And the reason I say that is why that is so important. So we may not be able to respond to everything immediately, but for instance, just think about Craig Park, how nice Craig Park is looking. It's going to be looking this summer. Like if it's vandalized, right? We may not be able to catch someone right then, but at least they'll be able to backtrack and see what took place. Someone broke into the buildings up at Palmer Park last summer. Like things like that is more of a reactive response. If the cameras are able to, keep the recordings in the cloud. But as far as immediate response, I think that's something that we need to talk about too. But at least we'll have a database to where if something happens, gunshots, all these different things, I think it'll be extremely valuable for us.
Yeah.
As Trustee Franklin was saying, it might not catch him in the act, but they definitely won't get away.
Yeah. If we can look and see if the Justice Department is still handing out those grants for those cameras, it'd be a plus for the village.
And yep. All right. So I see it's agreed among everybody that public safety is a great concern, and no telling what's going on in the world nowadays. It's chaotic all over. We do our very best to ensure that things are in place to do the best that we possibly can. All right. So I guess we would probably move this far. There's no time for action, but would it be a suggestion to just take RFPs and start having people come in? They're looking at presentations and things at the next POW meeting or something like that, and look at different vendors.
Absolutely.
I think it should be something that is on a list to do. Okay. And I think this would be, I think tonight, in my opinion, the board is saying, let's make this on a list to do. And I guess at this point to see how fast we can get it done. If we can get it done this year or before next year, I think that's what it would be, depending on the amount of money that would be available to install.
Yeah, and that's something to consider when you get the responses to, for the request for proposals, is find out that information. How long, when can they get the cameras installed? How does their camera work? Is it something where it goes into a cloud? How much do you have to pay for that cloud? Does it go, because some of these services, they have a cloud that you pay a little bit more for, but their cloud is actually monitored and you don't have to worry about the who's monitoring it. The other part of it, sometimes your electronic networks or your Wi-Fi network may not be able to handle that much storage. So those are all questions that hopefully they'll respond to in the RFP. It's the only thing I would tell you guys is there some people consider it a controversial topic because no one likes the idea that they're being watched by the cameras. They've been very successful in the city of Chicago in regards to, well, I shouldn't say very successful. They've been really good at catching some crimes. Right. Well, they've caught some shootings on camera. Now, whether or not those people got arrested for it, or whether or not they were ultimately convicted, I can't tell you. The fact of the matter is that those cameras have caught crimes in action. And then we have no control over what happens with the state's attorney's office or that. Your job is you're just trying to provide a way so that hopefully your citizens feel safer. And hopefully they know if something happens, there may be a camera, because it's not going to catch everything. But you have a camera there that's going to actually, you're making an effort to do something. That's the key. Some people don't like the fact that they may be watched doing things. And what triggers the cameras and how long of a loop, those are all things that we'll find out in our RFP.
Yeah.
And if
Yeah.
you notice, every single gas station in the village of University Park has camera systems.
Mhm.
Mhm.
One thing I would say, it was definitely, I had to do some undercover work, and what was funny was that I knew the camera was there, but then when you're doing undercover, you're not thinking. I was focused on the purchase I was about to make, and the guy kept pointing like, "Man, you don't see that camera?" So when you're not thinking about it, it was kind of odd, you know. The mechanic who's trying to just buy some drugs he didn't know it because I was so used to it. But, you know, it was just the fact that, yeah, it is a deterrence and everybody does pay attention to what's going on. It's just the matter of how desperate somebody is willing to commit a crime. But I think, like Trustee Franklin said, I think up at that metro station, my biggest concern is that that's one report you get tired. I think one day I had to do like 5 reports of those converters being snatched out. And if you know, that's
Yeah.
Yep. It takes,
We
they were
news on
busy.
19, bro. We made the news on that in 2019.
Yes, we did.
We sure did. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they took mine twice, Theo.
Yeah. So I think that's a big thing, and I think that's my main concern right now at that metro station.
All right. So
Metro Station and Craig Park.
Yeah, and also just think about, because the trucks have a designated route, and it appears that they know the route. The route is put in by IDOT, but they don't follow them. Some of those cameras on that sister University Parkway and Central Avenue would also help pay for themselves with the heavy trucks. We're going to be repaving a lot of these streets, so they're not going to continuously tear up our streets with overweight trucks. So, all right. Enough said. We know what we need to do. Thank you, guys. Item 5.1c, Brian, first of all, thank you for coming on tonight. And this is a discussion amending our emergency management response agreement with Homeland Security, because if I'm not mistaken, this is an ordinance that goes back into the 70s, which has not been amended. And the initial conversation is this, as I've always spoke about, initiating an emergency ESDA, emergency management system, or whatsoever. But I'll turn it over to Chief Chelios. Here we go.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Anything that the village would do in terms of its ESDA or its EMA, it's all guided by the Illinois Emergency Management Agency Act. It's a compiled statute. The number is 20 ILCS 3305. It's the main piece of state legislation that formed the Illinois EMA, which all other county and local agencies sort of work under their framework. So without taking you through the whole act, I just want to focus on section 10, which talks about, you know, as the agencies in local jurisdictions and municipalities. So basically the requirement for an ESDA is based pretty much just on population. So any local government, whether it's a municipality or a county with a population of over 500,000, is required by Illinois to have their standalone ESDA agency, or some call them EMA. You know, they're one and the same. So the village, of course, is well under 500,000 population, but we remain compliant with the statute because we have by ordinance right now as the duties assigned to the Division of Fire. So there's 2 key ordinances here in the village, Chapter 232, which is the Division of Fire. Section 2 assigns right now all of the ESDA functions for the village as functions of the fire department. The village does have an actual ESDA ordinance, which is Chapter 242, and it explains in there, you know, how the ESDA unit is comprised, you know, what makes it up, some general duties are in there. So if you look closely, you know, at Chapter 242, yes, it was adopted by this village a long time ago. ordinance number 358 in 1977. And then a couple years later, in 1980, the village at the time voted to have the coordinating duties of ESDA assigned to the fire chief. So the remaining sections in our current ordinance, they could use, you know, some attention on current language and other things like NIMS compliance and more streamlined and in line with what the county is doing at its level and what IEMA is doing at the state level. So the good news is, if the board wants to proceed down this path, a lot of this work has already been done for us. Just looking today in preparation for this meeting, there are a lot of sources that are already online by communities that have very outstanding ESDA agencies right now. And just to name a few, I looked at the village of Crete, the village of New Lenox, and the village of Mokina. They are probably three of the biggest and most active ESDA agencies in Will County. And then of course, you know, if we need questions answered or if we have concerns, we can always reach out to Will County EMA or Illinois EMA at any time, and they will provide guidance and anything else we would need along the way. So if updates and changes wanted to be made to basically separate the ESDA duties from the fire department, it's got to be done in a way that is planned and we make sure that we're prepared along the way. My goal would be to do what I can to make sure it would be a smooth transition and that it keeps us compliant with all of the state statutes along the way. And we don't ever want to be in a spot where, you know, we are without that agency or no one paying attention to those duties, because that could put this village in a very vulnerable spot, you know, if something were to happen. So right now, we're looking at a couple of things that would have to take place before I would recommend any ordinance changes take place. Right now, you know, since I'm the fire chief, I'm also the coordinator. So if the village is looking for someone else to coordinate this effort with an independent as the village is going to need a qualified and credentialed coordinator. And I'm going to send all of these notes over to the clerk, you know, for everyone to have. So in case you miss anything, it'll all be in writing for you. I'm going to send it after the meeting. So I put together a list of certain courses and training certificate programs that the director would have to go through. These would be ones that you'd want to look for a person having right away. It's nothing outrageous. It's a lot of training that can be done online at no cost. But it's the focus on the introduction to incident command systems, the introduction level to the National Incident Management System, and a couple other ones pertaining to emergency center operations and fundamentals of emergency management. And then as that person gets used to their role and what they're doing, you'd want to see them increase their level of knowledge along the way and get them looking at things like developing exercises and trainings, how to complete incident action plans, and how to access the various different public information systems. So that's item one. Item two, I know this has been brought up in an unofficial capacity in the place, but the ESDA agency would need a means of communication, and this could be linked right into the discussion topic maybe a year ago or longer about a village-wide radio system. It would keep them separate from police and fire, but if we do it the right way, we could also create an interoperable, you know, radio plan where fire, police, public works, everyone could have that village channel to talk on, you know, during those types of emergencies where every asset we got is deployed and everyone's working out there. So there's radio options out there. VHF radios are by far the cheapest compared to digital. But of course, digital radios are more reliable because they have a wider range. So radio infrastructure, you're looking at the village would have to apply for and obtain an FCC license for radio usage. The system would probably require at least 2 antenna sites because of the overall size of the village. And then all the related hardware that would go with that, you know, radios in the actual as the vehicles themselves, and possibly portable radios as well when they're not working in the field. And then of course, the last 2 are probably the biggest. In order for ESDA to be effective, they would have to secure their own rolling stock of vehicles. These do not have to be new vehicles by any means. Most ESDA agencies in Will County simply use police vehicles that have been rotated out of service by the police department. You remove some equipment from them that they would not need, you change the markings on them, and you have ESDA vehicles. And then the last one is having a facility that ESDA can operate out of. They're going to need a place to store their vehicles they have. It's preferred that they be stored inside, especially, you know, in this area during the winter, so the vehicles are not covered in snow and ice if they're needed right away. So those are just a couple of the things that I've identified, you know, and just at the like a preliminary review of this thing. I believe it's worth doing as the village grows and expands. You know, right now, you know, fire, police, public works, we're only going to get busier and being required to do more on the emergency services end of things. And there's ways that ESDA could support, you know, our operations at that non-emergency level. You know, for example, you know, we would not have to rely on the police department to supply an officer to close down an intersection if we had to. Fire-wise, you know, if we are waiting for Commonwealth Edison to show up, you know, because there's a down power line, I would not have to leave the fire engine there. You know, ESDA could show up, set cones up, keep people out of the area, and wait until, you know, the power company shows up. So I put together a general kind of an outline of how the village might want to proceed with this. I think the most important thing is to find the ESDA coordinator or ESDA director as soon as possible. That way, you know, I could work with that person in transitioning all of these things over to that new agency. Number 2 would be funding for the construction of the village radio system. 3 would be finding some type of facility or storage area for vehicles. Number 4 would then be to secure the, you know, the initial, I would say the initial 2 or 3, you know, vehicles that they would need. And then I listed recruitment of as the volunteers as number 5.
Brian, stop right there for a minute.
Sure.
So, and I want everyone to understand, there will be probably only one person, which would be the coordinator or the director, which would probably be the salary person. Everybody else would be composed of trained volunteers.
Yeah. So recruitment wise, I listed that last, and I know that sounds kind of strange, but really recruitment can be done anytime, but it is a tricky subject because yes, the village would want to assess the interests of people in the community before they would invest all of this capital, you know, in building this thing, only to find out that you got a director, you've got radios now, you've got vehicles and everything, just to find out that no one would be interested in doing it. But then the flip side is you don't want to wait too long. You know, if you get volunteers right away and there's nothing in place for them to do because we're still waiting for all of those other things ahead of it to take place. So that's probably the trickiest part about this thing, other than the capital investment that would be needed. I do have enough contacts, in other communities at the county level as well. I would almost guarantee that there has to be grant funding out there for a lot of these things.
Homeland Security money.
Yeah, and it's only a matter of time before, speaking to the right person and finding out where those sources are and how to apply for them. So I'll send this information over that I've given you tonight, so you can review it and read it at your own pace. It's definitely worth the village pursuing this avenue. The only thing that I would request is that at least until some of these pieces get into place, that we can work on the ordinance language beginning whenever, but I would recommend that we be careful in that process to make sure that someone remains in place to make sure at least that the basic duties are getting done, to make sure that meetings are being attended in Joliet at Will County right now, to make sure that someone is keeping an eye on the outdoor warning sirens, keeping us compliant with our NIMS requirements and all of those kinds of things. So that's basically my initial look at this. And if anyone's got any questions, feel free to ask.
Floor is open. Thank you so much, Brian. Great detailed work. Thank you.
I was only going to say that I had followed up a little bit on the emergency management agency project. The chief is correct. Actually, if anyone takes a look into section 242-02, section D, it does say that if in the absence of the director, or quote unquote the person who's in charge of it, pretty much the village manager is in charge. And so and note, this was written back June 14th, 1977, in which it seems to be that a lot of our ordinance seem to reflect, and they are that old. So nonetheless, if you have a problem with that language, I do agree with the chief that we need to make sure that that is indeed taken care of. It is a responsibility that I have learned speaking with, I guess the title would be, he's the lieutenant or the deputy, or his title, he's emergency management, part of emergency management over in Monique. So I had a long 2-hour conversation with him on how their operation works in Monique, and they seem to be very active and does help out with their fire department and police department over there, like Chief Chelio says. As far as the radios, as you know, everyone gets a license from the FCC. I have mine to operate my equipment. The last time I looked, University Park was still on a VHF frequency. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, Chief Wilson advised me that that radio system was shut down. And I think, and actually Chelios was talking about, because I've been advocating for it for about 5 years, that we need our own citywide radio system. I made it very simple that we are probably the only town that does not operate on a radio system village-wide. But yet we still are capable to go out and buy cell phones for everyone to use. In saying that, how easy it could be is that, let's say the village manager needs something from DPW. She doesn't necessarily has to pick up the phone. She can simply pick up that radio and have that package delivered over to maybe Village Hall front desk. The police department, if it comes to a bank run or something of the sort, you know, the finance department can pick up that radio. They would be on channel 1, and they simply can make or they can key in that radio. But if and this is, I'm just saying to the trustees, it's easy for us to always have a phone. But let's say hypothetically, just like the chief will tell you, when it comes to police, the code is actually, hey, 10, give me a 21, which means let's use the phone. It's plain and simple. Or TX means transmit. At whatever number, if it ever came to that came to that level, I do feel that it would be beneficial, especially when it comes to the wintertime with public works and emergency management in the fire department. Let's say hypothetically there is a traffic accident out there out by Amazon. Well, DPW can easily key up that radio and look at the response we can get instead of someone picking up the telephone and trying to send or call a 911 or trying to find a director. So my point is that after 5 years, I've been inquiring about it. I just hope, as the board, I believe this will save us money. Because at one point I would say we were paying 10,000 plus in cell phone bills. And that was when we were with, I want to say Verizon. It was after Manager Pate came in that we had to get rid of some of the lines. There's a little bit, everybody named Mama had a phone from the village of University Park. That's just, that's the honest truth. I think we had almost 70 something phones out there. And I don't want us to get back into that rut again, but I personally feel that radios are beneficial and they are cost efficient for the village. The vehicles, I honestly, that's one of the reasons, if everyone wants to know, why do I keep saying police departments should have, I know this village have been in the habit of getting 2 vehicles at a time. Well, you cannot, there's no way, first of all, the police officers can function in a vehicle that is, several years old, not just one, we're talking several. We done had car chases where, our squad cars can't catch up because the gas filter is bad. And this is a vehicle, here we are buying vehicles. And now I will say, when I got in here in 2017, we did not have any money. So Manager Pate had to go and dig. And so the squad cars that you see that are, they have the blackout lettering, they are 2016s that Chief Chelios was able to scrape up and find for us, because the vehicles that were driving in 2017 were 2012s, 2011s. I mean, it was really ridiculous. So one plan that I would say for the board is that if I remember, we last started talking about leasing and purchasing, leasing. But I do think at some point we can also discuss purchasing. And the reason why I say if we purchase 2 vehicles, or 4 vehicles, we know that in the rotation, we can start taking money and taking vehicles and switching them down to the emergency management department. That way you would never have to worry about that. I learned that from both the Crete emergency management and also Moni emergency management. They just take their cars and recycle them down. And Chief Chelios should tell you, that's one reason why your police chief should be hard on your officers not damaging the cars. Don't get into no, 90 mile per hour chase, because, you don't care about the car, but indeed the board of trustees care about that car, because you're going to be passing that car down. So that's one thing that I want everyone to entertain and understand. That's why I do it, because me personally, I was trying to think years ahead. We can still use those vehicles. We can purchase a vehicle. The code enforcement do have new vehicles, but honestly, the towns that I worked in, if the vehicle was, now we say economy, smaller vehicle, and they slap code enforcement on it. If it's not that, most of the code enforcement vehicles were vehicles that were over at the police department. safer. And I use Harvey in the 90s, the late 90s, as a prime example, is that Harvey was in a financial struggle in the mid 90s. The reason why we were able to come out of that struggle by 2000 was that you just took the small steps first. So it was very common for us to take used vehicles and recycle them through the departments that need them. So by the end of the day, really the only one that had new vehicles were DPW, because you need 5-ton trucks to be out there. You're running Dixie Highway. You're running out there on 150th up and down Thornton, around Thornton High School. So I just kind of want the trustees to know that, because I know this is March. The budget year ends in 2 months. Hey, we just want to keep this in the back of our mind. I know we got 4 pickup trucks. Let's be honest, those trucks need to be in a moment. We're going to have to recycle those trucks. We're going to have to strip them. Yes, sir. We're going to have to strip them and put them through there. The place of operation, I really do think that we need to entertain how we're going to function with that as well. If this was just me, I know DPW was supposed to go over to the old Village Hall. I think we had problems or something over there, but nonetheless, we need to think about housing or where could they go. That is one good idea that we can do in saying so. So I'm with Chief Chelios on this. If you definitely, I know our current ordinance says in the absence of our police chief, based upon the ordinance we had passed, the village manager's in charge. Well, this ordinance is pretty much the same thing. In the absence of the emergency management coordinator, in his absence, the village manager's in charge. So if the board wants to change that language on that, I'm all for it. The radios, I know that, this is part of the discussion tonight, but I really, really, really feel that at some point, this should expand towards DPW. DPW really needs to have radios. I personally, my opinion, if we feel they should have phones, fine. But, to be honest, I think DPW operates better with radios.
We had radios.
Yeah. And the vehicles, I just, I think that we need to, and this is third, I have 4 points. The vehicles, I think we need to go ahead and keep in mind and entertain that thought that when we start talking about purchasing vehicles this year, I know we have 4 police department is in desperate need of more vehicles to their fleet. So if we bought 4 more, let's just remember that we can take 2 of those vehicles out of the fleet and possibly give them to EMS. But at the end of the day, Chief Chelios is correct and the mayor is correct. The one person is indeed the person that get paid. He's in charge. It's his training, because, and I want it to be important. And I think Chief kind of ran over it. His training has to be along that line, somewhat like Chief Chelios. There's certain certification an individual has to have in order to run a department. So, we have to make sure that we invest into somebody, that will do this. We're paying them. They will do this. They're dedicated to it and give us the best as far as University Park. The volunteers, what I found is 2 type of people usually join EMS: retirees, those who were either police or fire, or want to be police or firemen, also join emergency management. So if anybody wants to just kind of take a look and say, if we, we'll be together as a board, this summer. One thing that Moni does is Fall Fest. Those vehicles you see out there, those are your emergency management. That's not Creek Moni Police. That's emergency management. Not Creek Police, Moni Police. Moni Police are out and about, and Moni emergency management controls the traffic control. And actually, there is so many of them to the point that they are actually on foot patrol, and some of them are actually wearing vests out there while walking. So I just want, to say that if other towns if these 2 towns on each side of us can do it, us as an all African American community, we can come together in something like this that would be beneficial. Coach Franklin,
Trustee, let me just stop you for a minute. Let's say a predominantly African-American community.
Predominantly the total, what was it, 70, was it 80? And we even have Asian. But the thing that we need to stop and realize is 5% of the population has left. And so we want to be able to make sure that we indeed, I was going to say, Trustee Franklin, this would be perfect for you on game day. You don't have to have an officer out there. But one thing we need to entertain that I've seen now that I'm more at home instead of away coaching, you got like a little traffic jam going on back there. Like when you guys are hosting games, especially, I don't know if you guys are hosting a Super Bowl this year, but you definitely going to need a little traffic control, but it would be beneficial. We don't have to pay anybody to do it. I mean, when I mean pay, meaning that an officer, we do not have to take that resource off the street. So I'm with it, and whatever the board, I would love to continue to chat with the Chief Chelios, and like I said, I chatted with other towns, and I mean, I love it. I just think we need to catch up with some of the times because we are kind of being left behind here.
I would say, Trustee, great comments. I feel your passion there. I'll tell you, Brian, I'll check with Mayor Einhorn. I'll get a template of what his ESDA's combined of. And even some of the municipalities will even donate some of their surplus vehicles to us. I've already been circling around with some other different municipalities. So it's a need necessary with storms and disasters and tornadoes and storms and traffic jams and chaotic events happening. And I tell you one thing, we're going to get our butt kicked when Carvana opens up and the metro station gets full because people will be commuting from all over. So we need to, as you say, Coach, we're going to prepare for the game. Brian?
You're muted.
Okay, there we go. All right. One benefit to the village having its own ESDA/EMA agency is that it's going to be able to join forces with all of these other communities. Crete, Moni, everyone around us, Beecher, Peatone, much like our own, mutual aid network, for the fire department. So once we have our own resources to share, communities would be more open to sharing theirs with ours. And to add to that, to Trustee Brooks and Mayor Rudez, over this past weekend, the village of Manhattan just had their Irish Fest parade, and Manhattan was assisted by Peatone, Lockport, Mokina, and Lennox. They all gather around, when there's something going on in one community to help them out, and then we would then reciprocate that and go help them out as well. So that also plays out too for various equipment. Agreements can be made and worked out once this is up and running that, resources that one community has, they may be willing to share those. So not every community would necessarily need to have all of the same equipment. So that's just something else to think about when this whole process comes together.
Anybody else have comments or questions regarding that? Trustee Lewis?
Let's move forward out of the dinosaur ages.
Yeah.
Let's move forward.
I concur.
Let's be a part of the team. I'm with it.
I agree with Trustee Lewis.
Yeah, because sooner or later, we're going to learn to work with each other because that's what works. Teamwork makes the dream work. Let's make this thing happen and ensure the safety of our community. Any other comments?
Thanks, Shelly Brooks, for your insight on this. That's very, very helpful to us to understand because you guys have been in the field with it. It definitely helps to understand what exactly is going on and how we're left in the times of not being part of our own frequency, which we should have as a town. Definitely good information.
One thing, you can outrun a car, but you can't outrun a radio.
Yeah, I would say this, Trustee Lewis, and to me, I enjoy and listen to Chelios, and I mean, I know some people, it can be long, but the thing is that it's beneficial because it's one of those people that, say, for instance, you needed help. To be honest, they are almost that extra policeman or that extra rescue service that's out there to help out on the street that, to be honest, you see them faster sometimes than you see a police unit because they're always out there patrolling. One thing I meant to mention when the chief spoke about the VHF radio, the digital radio, and then the fact that the village spent money on a FCC license that we're not even using the frequency, Trustee Lewis. We spent money on something that we're not even using. Right. I didn't understand it. I was like, why did we pay for something that we're not even using? And yeah, it was crazy. Yeah. But one thing I was told by the Moni emergency management officer, he said that they do have radios, and on their radios, they do speak to Laraway. And the other part is they also monitor the scanner for help in case someone needs help. So Chief Chelios is correct. They always helping out each other. One thing, though, I would like to say, in lieu of that, Trustee Lewis, this is the truth. Sometimes University Park is viewed as we're with the surrounding towns, and I'm giving you a police officer's perspective. This is just being honest. We're that stepchild in the region. And I really want us to stop being viewed as that stepchild. At one point, they used to laugh at our officers and the radio traffic that happens. So we trying to change that image. Sometimes crazy things happen in our town that doesn't happen anywhere else, but this is almost like that step forward, and we just need to up the service when it comes to servicing the people.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I yield my time, sir.
Thank you very much. Point well taken. Great meeting. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Whoa.
So moved.
Oh, I thought we were doing executive session. You
You
got it on the agenda.
It's always on the agenda, but we're going to say that for when all the attorneys on the board meeting, we'll be in an extensive executive session in about 8 days.
In 8 days.
In 8 days. No, we need to go into executive session for an update.
Well, no, the attorneys aren't here, and we're going to go at
Miller's here.
At the board meeting
Miller is
on the
here.
24th.
Miller's here.
Miller is
No,
here.
that's not the right one.
What?
So what? No,
Is there a motion for adjournment?
No.
We got an email that we was gonna have
We
executive
want
session.
the executive session.
The village manager sent it.
Yes.
I most right. She sent it.
I don't know who sent an executive session meeting, but there will not be an
The mayor. I mean, the village manager. She sent it.
I'm sorry,
said-
the village manager.
I didn't send a meeting I have no authority to do that.
Oh, you know what?
I didn't send that. I
Motion
said,
for executive session.
I second.
I got the email right here.
well, look
I
at it,
second.
because I didn't say anything about an
I
executive
second it.
to call an executive session.
Oh
Read
my
the
God!
memo.
I motion for executive
Read
session.
the
No, we can't
memo.
keep going through this. No.
Read the
We will
memo.
have an executive session at the regular action meeting on the fourth Tuesday of the
I
month.
make a
There was a
motion.
motion and a second.
Mr. Miller,
second
a
it to
motion
go
for
into
executive
executive
session.
So,
And there's a
so-
second
I
on the
second
floor.
yeah, so we,
She
I
wrote,
second.
she sent that
There's a
email.
motion and a second. We do a roll call. If
Yep.
motion fails,
We
we'll
have to
close out,
vote.
move on to the fourth
yeah, you have
Tuesday.
to vote on the motion. Yep, you have to vote on the motion.
Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Wow.
What? Yeah, okay.
Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Okay, the motion is on the table for,
There's a motion and a second
the-
for executive
to go-
session. I ask
Right.
that we hold the executive session to the fourth Tuesday when we take action on all of the other items.
No.
Roll call, Madam Clerk.
No.
My God.
Trustee Lewis,
Both aye.
For executive session?
Yes. No, for on the 8 days.
You know what?
Okay, so, okay,
Just
let
don't
me, wait,
call them
okay, okay,
tomorrow morning.
here, hold on,
There is
hold
a
on.
motion on the
Let it
floor.
ride.
Okay,
for an
okay,
executive
hold on.
session by
Let
two of
me,
the council members.
let's make sure everybody knows what you're voting on, okay?
Yes,
Because it
there is a
seems
motion on the floor.
there is-
for an executive
For-
session. I'm asking for the executive session to be held at the regular board meeting
okay,
on the fourth Tuesday of the month, where action will be
Okay.
taken. And all of the
okay,
attorneys will
okay,
be present.
okay.
Why are you
hold-
pushing it
let
out,
me-
man? Why you keep pushing this out?
Okay, hold on.
Why-
Let me just make sure everyone understands, because I think if you vote aye on the motion, you go to closed session tonight. If you vote nay, then you're not going into closed session. I just want that to be sure, because
Okay.
it seemingly there's some confusion. So the motion is to go into closed session tonight to talk about the employment, compensation, performance, discipline of specific employees of the Village of University Park. That would be a motion to go into closed session tonight and discuss it. So I think what we need to do is, there was a motion by Trustee Brooks. It was seconded by Trustee Jenkins Bell. We need a roll call on that vote, Mayor, is what we're looking on. Don't
sir.
add what you want to do, just it's a motion to go into closed session for tonight, so it doesn't confuse people, so they know what they're voting on.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Trustee Lewis,
Votes no.
Trustee
Let-
Franklin,
Let people see it.
Both aye.
Trustee Bolden. You're muted. I can't hear you.
Trustee Bolden, are you muted?
Okay, there it is. Votes no.
Okay.
Trustee McFadden,
Votes no.
Trustee Jenkins,
Votes aye.
Trustee Brooks,
Voted aye.
Mayor Rudez.
So,
So the motion failed, 3-4, or 4-3, however you want to say it. So that motion to go into executive session failed for tonight.
is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
No, I won't take a roll on that one. I'm voting no.
Roll call.
Yeah,
All
it's
in
got to be roll
favor?
call anyway. Yeah,
It's got to be a roll call.
it's got to be a roll call.
Okay, roll call, Madam Clerk.
Trustee Lewis,
Both aye.
I got this.
Trustee Franklin,
Both aye.
Trustee Bolden,
Votes aye.
Trustee McFadden,
Votes aye.
Trustee Jenkins,
Votes no.
Trustee Brooks,
Votes no.
Mayor Rudez.
Aye. Good night, everyone. Have a great evening.
Good night.
That's okay. That's okay.